Laziali all over the world, welcome to another episode of Lazio Lounge. I'm Vittorio Campanile. With me, Alistair McKenzie, after his 7 o'clock coffee. That's quite surprising for a Scottish guy, but anyway, this is his ways to celebrate the sixth victory in a row for Lazio. Last time this happened, COVID was still nothing. This tells you how far we have to go to remember Lazio winning six matches in a row. This probably, Alistair, was the ugliest one. Lazio didn't play a great football, didn't create that many chances, but it was really, really important, especially seeing what happened on Saturday and Roma losing to Juventus, Atalanta dropping points, Napoli losing. So it was very, very important for Lazio to win this match.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty grim game, wasn't it? They can't all be entertaining and exciting like the Atalanta one, but it wasn't particularly beautiful to watch. I think in matches like that, you can kind of accept it if you get the result that you want. For a while, I did wonder if Lazio would find a way through. I thought it might be one of those nights where Cranio saves everything and they try throwing balls forward and can't find a way, but Ciro always finds a way, doesn't he? So thankfully, the Di Francesco anti-football didn't work this time.
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't celebrate because on the TV it looked like Cranio deflected the ball and it was going out. So then I saw it. I saw Immobile going celebrating and still the ball didn't get in the net, and I was, what the hell are you doing? You have to kick it in. And so it was, a little bit concerning. On the other side, Alistair, I was completely surprised by Di Francesco. I mean, he was known for being a very Zeman-type manager, 4-3-3, attacking mind football, etc. He came to the Olympico and put two buses in front of the goals yesterday.
Yeah, no, well, it just made me think that he looks like a man who's desperately looking for an answer, isn't he? I mean, that team has now gone 13 games without a win. They gave him a new contract in the middle of all that, which surprised everyone. But
that's unbelievable.
Like you say, it's not necessarily, it's not textbook Di Francesco to set up a team that way. So that was why it kind of surprised me so much, not just the setup, but looking at the players he picked, there was still, Nainggolan and João Pedro and Pavoletti, and the players who were on the pitch weren't just all kind of players you'd expect to sit deep and defend, but they did it pretty well, even though it was very frustrating. Lazio did struggle in the first half in particular to really carve out, clear chances. And what I was impressed by was their patience. I think that they kind of stuck to the plan yesterday and they didn't panic. They may have started to panic if the goal had come, if the goal hadn't come when it did. But they kind of went through the motions and seemed to have a lot more belief that, if they keep doing what they're doing, that the rewards will come. And that really reminded me a lot of last season, where there were so many late goals, so many stoppage time goals, so many comebacks, and it was the same kind of spirit to the match, I felt, where Lazio just kind of have this winning mentality all of a sudden and will just find ways to win the matches. And I don't think any of us will be watching that one back, but it's just as important as the Atalanta game. It's 3 points on the board.
Sorry, you said Nainggolan played. Are you sure? Because I didn't see him touching a ball yesterday.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. It's a good point, actually. I don't know how many times any Cagliari player touched the ball yesterday. It was until Lazio scored anyway. They had absolutely no interest in passing the ball or doing anything other than just defend.
Yeah. We have to talk about Lazio defense later, I think, because I think we allowed too many chances to Cagliari after we went ahead. And that was a little bit curious because, I thought Cagliari didn't have a chance before, and then suddenly everything happened. And I think 2 years ago, that was the typical match that Lazio goes ahead and then the Cagliari find a way and equalize. And at the end of the season, we complain and say, hey, this is why Lazio didn't get to the Champions League. So it was good to see a change, Lazio winning. But Alistair, this is something we saw in the last couple of years. When a team comes and think only about defending, Lazio struggles. When Lazio plays against a team that comes to the Olimpico and try to play football, then usually Lazio play a great match and most of the time win, right? So this is one of the problems Lazio is facing now. And probably the solution is Murici, but if you don't start him, Lazio struggle a little bit to find the ways. Because yesterday, Cragno made a couple of saves, not more.
Yeah, but I disagree that that's something that we should be really concerned about, because Lazio did find a way. They did find a way through, and they did get the result that they needed. And now if you look at the winning run that we're on, Lazio have won all these games against all sorts of different opponents who play in different ways. Atalanta, very attack-minded team, beat them. I don't think that anyone in the league, I can't think of any other team in the league who would set up the way that Cagliari did last night. In terms of being that kind of shamedly ultra-defensive, that they only want a 0-0 draw, that's all they're interested in. I don't think there's any other team in the league who really play that way. There will be teams who are hard to break down, but look, I don't think it's a time to criticise Lazio, because statistically they still dominated that game, even if there weren't many clear-cut chances. And you know, they eventually got the rewards for the pressure that they were applying on the Cagliari defence. So, like I say, I mean, it's a case of finding a way to win these games, and that's what they did. And they weren't helped by the pitch, by the way, because as you'll know, the weather was terrible last night. So the pitch was, Correa complained about it at half-time, didn't he? Like, just very heavy, and it's hard to move the ball as quickly as you want, or move yourself as quickly as you want on a pitch like that.
And France played the day before rugby, in the rugby match. Not Italy, because Italy got destroyed, but France played in the pitch. So this didn't help.
Yeah, I don't think that really made too much of an impact, because the weather was so good on the Saturday. So I think that the pitch would have been in a decent condition by the end of the day. I was at the rugby on Saturday, and they're already changing the pitch by the time I left. So that they did get all of that kind of sorted and ready in advance. But I think it's just the weather. When the rain is like that in Rome, it's there's no stopping it, and so yeah, that didn't help. But yeah, you know, I think it's another example of perhaps Lazio benefiting from not having the games close together. I do wonder how much they would have struggled if that game had come 3 days after another one where they don't have the energy to put in those extra yards, or that hard running on the wet surface, or they do get more frustrated or run out of patience sooner than they did. But in the end, yeah, like I say, you can't have too many complaints about the performance.
One thing about playing only once a week is that I think Leva played so well in the last couple of matches, and I don't know if it's coincidence, but he stepped up now that Lazio's playing once a week. I think that the fatigue got him when he had to play twice the same week. So this is very important for Lazio, because you can see Leva, it's a difference maker, right? When he stopped for form.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's all sorts of players in this team, and well, I mean, who wouldn't benefit from having more rest and more preparation time? But yeah, Leva, obviously, because he's a bit older than the rest, that it'll help him. But yeah, I mean, I think that everything's kind of coming. It's almost like the perfect storm for Lazio here at the moment, where they've had, you know, the rest from Christmas, and then the turn of form since then has just sent them into this period of great momentum again. Because the memory of last season is still quite fresh and it's more or less the same squad, they'll know that once they get that momentum, they're hard to stop. They've already beaten big teams in Atalanta and Roma, and they've beaten the smaller teams they've come up against as well. And now they're getting more rest on top of that as well. So it's kind of like everything seems to be coming together at once for Lazio. So the only worry really is, it's Inter away next, which is one of the hardest games, if not the hardest game that you can have in Serie A this season. And then Bayern Munich coming up too. So, those are going to be two of the toughest games of the season. And I just hope that if those results don't go Lazio's way, it's not going to upset this momentum too much or knock the team off its stride.
Well, to be honest, I thought that the defeat against Atalanta in Coppa Italia could. Instead, we see the team maybe playing even better at Bergamo on the weekend. So that didn't affect. I'm not sure that losing against Bayern Munich would. I mean, we hope we're going to win, but let's be honest. I think we have to say that Bayern is slightly favorite, right?
Probably. I've just realised there was actually a question from Rami here, who's more or less on this. He said we did well after the Champions League break the last couple of months. Now we're top four challengers. Do you think we'll struggle in the league again once the Champions League is back? And is it better to get eliminated, he says, which we will anyway, to focus on Serie A? Absolutely not. I mean, this is the thing I never really get about these kind of conversations, is that why would you want to get eliminated from the Champions League in order to then put yourself in a better position in the league to qualify for the Champions League? Like, the reason, the objective we're aiming at in the league is to be where we currently are in the Champions League. So you have to give it absolutely everything. I mean, of course, Lazio are underdogs, but it's a free shot.
It's already difficult. We're already underdogs. So I mean, let's give it the best shot and see what happened. I mean, beating Bayern, I think, will give us such a boost to the team that, the result will come even in Serie A. And one thing, now we finally have a full squad available, right? Lulic is back. Well, we don't have Luis Felipe, but we have Musacchio. I mean, injury-wise, the situation is much better than, for example, when we play against Club Brugge or Zenit. So I think that now Inzaghi has the numbers to compete in Champions League and in Serie A. We are out of the Coppa Italia. And then, let's be honest, I mean, probably we have 2 matches in the Champions League. We hope to have more, but this is what the predictions say. So let's give all in these two matches and then, see what happens. But I thought it was important. Philip Pezzano saying, for example, Rado looks in much better form. I think he's not the only one, to be honest with you. We saw players stepping up, improving the condition.
Yeah, like you said, Lucas Leiva as well. Yeah, Radu's definitely another one. Just looks better for having more rest between games and more opportunities. And you know how important he is to this team when he is on good form. So it makes a big difference. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's one of these seasons, I think, where you have to make the most of these kind of moments, because we don't know, we can't really expect this to last until the end of the season. We don't really know what's going to happen with the other teams around us. Roma and Napoli are both looking like they're kind of going downwards a bit at the moment. Atalanta, I'm sure, will be back, but at a moment like this in the season where Lazio are going in one direction, the other teams are going in another, they really need to put as many points on the board as possible. But I just don't see them being too bothered by it, being too bothered by how much focus there's going to be on that.
Yeah, we have a question from Oliver Phil. I hope I pronounce it correctly. He say Lazio is having a one match at a time mentality, and I think that having this, instead we are seeing fans already thinking Champions League is Lazio fighting back for the Scudetto, etc. There have been talks yesterday about Lazio back in the Champions League race or in the Scudetto race. I think in this moment in time, Lazio has really to focus one match at a time Next match is against Inter, very complicated. You don't need to see the table because it will change dramatically after Sunday. Let's not forget that Lazio is playing against Inter, but then there is Napoli-Juventus. So those could be very, very important match for the future. And then afterwards, there are big teams. There's the Milan derby coming up. So there are a lot of important match to be played that can change everything in this coming week. So one match mentality, I think that's going to be the solution, right?
Yeah, and it's a bit of a cliche, and it's certainly the kind of thing that, as a journalist, you get very bored of reading people saying players always do it. Just focused on the next match, every press conference or interview. But it is the kind of mentality that you need. I think if you actually really believe it, then it does help. But it's a lot easier to focus on the next match in reality when you've got more time between each match to actually research the opposition properly and kind of structure your game, I guess, in the best possible way. It'll be interesting to see around the Bayern games whether or not Inzaghi decides to rotate the team for the Serie A matches, and if he does so, how much he will, because you only get one crack at this. Bayern Munich in the last 16 of the Champions League, and who have we got? Sampdoria before the Bayern game. So
again,
he might be tempted to think, well, it's Sampdoria, we can probably get away with Pereira and Morici up front, or Akpag pro midfield, or whatever it is. But then obviously we got hammered by Sampdoria last time, so I don't know if that will happen.
Yes. Well, I don't remember. I don't think Morici started in that match, but I think now things have changed compared to the past years. I think finally Lazio has not only depth in numbers, but in quality. I mean, Morici have proven in the last couple of matches or so that he can be a top striker, a Champions League level striker. Same thing about Pereira. Akpa Pro is playing more time than ever. I think finally Lazio have more options there. And even on the wingers, Alistair, Maruzic and Lazio are playing great football. But yesterday Lulic came in instead of Fares. Fares didn't play. I mean, now we have really 4 wingers of a certain level. Well, we have to see if Fares is able to play a certain level. But finally, we have not only options, but quality options. I think this is the biggest difference from the Lazio of this year compared to the past. Or I'm too optimistic.
It's looking a lot stronger, the depth, I think, than it was even a month or two ago. We laughed last month at the idea of Senad Lulic coming back from injury being our only January signing, but it has actually felt like a signing just because it's been so long since he's been out. And I don't know about you, but I think, although I don't think he'll be a nailed-on starter again anytime soon, I think he is looking better than I thought he might after so long out. He's not kind of torn up any trees or anything, but I think he's looked very useful and in good condition when he's been on. And the other one I wanted to ask you about as well is Matteo Musacchio, who looks like from the very early signs that he's managed to kind of slot in quite easily into that defence. Got very exposed for his lack of pace at one point yesterday from the throw-in, but other than that, he looks relatively comfortable. Do you not think? I mean, I think he's made a good adjustment so far.
Yes, but that thing really concerned me. I mean, a team that gets a counter-attack on a throw-in, it's not acceptable. And obviously, that's not only a Musacchio mistake. All the defenders were surprised. But, if Cagliari scores there, then it's a completely different match. And it's quite complicated to get 3 points out of that. So But in general, I would say Musacchio has played well. He looks like he's always been there. So this is really the most promising thing. Let's not forget that I think this year he played 1 or 2 matches, so he cannot be fit. So he's going to improve his condition going forward. But I wouldn't be surprised if Patrick starts against Inter, knowing Simone Inzaghi, right?
I don't know. I mean, well, that would be quite a telling selection. That will tell us a lot about how he views Musacchio, how impressed or not he's been with Musacchio in training and the performances so far. I think Patrick, we know he's not trusted because we saw that in when Musacchio made his debut. Patrick gets an early yellow card and he comes off before half time. So we kind of know how Inzaghi feels about Patrick. So I wouldn't be surprised if Musacchio gets the nod. Obviously, ex-Milan player, so hopefully he has some kind of anti-Inter hatred built up in him that he's ready to unleash. The other thing, and I know that a lot of people were asking us about this, so I should probably bring it up, is from the game yesterday is the corners, Vittorio.
Oh.
Obviously, pretty poor, but Luis Alberto then replaced by Ciro Immobile as the corner taker, and yeah, what the hell's going on there? I mean, Joaquin Correa put one on Milinkovic-Savic's head, a week or 10 days ago, and he didn't even seem to be taking them anymore. So it's quite confusing.
Well, he has been subbed, right? So that's why he wasn't taken. But why Ciro Immobile? Now, seriously, why do you make your top striker taking corners? That's something I really don't understand. People ask us to find numbers. I didn't. I find that Lazio this season has an average of 4.3 corners per match, but there weren't any stats about how many goals Lazio score on a corner kick. So unfortunately, this is what I found. But
that's some good work.
2 years ago, corners were some of the top things for Lazio, right? We had Luis Alberto picking Milinkovic-Savic, Acerbi, Ciro Immobile, and so on. I struggle to remember a corner kick by Luis Alberto that lead to a goal. And I get the impression every time he tried to score directly from a corner kick, but every single goalkeepers know it. So he's not surprising anybody there. And corners should be very important, but we are wasting them all the time. So I don't know. I think Inzaghi has a full week of training. They should do a session on corners maybe this week.
I remember in that 17-18 season, by the end of it, we'd scored something like, I think it was 9 or 10 goals between De Vrij and Bastos. And, those weren't, probably all of Bastos' ones were 35-yard volleys, to be fair, but De Vrij's ones weren't. So, yeah, that's the strange thing, is that we did use it as a weapon then, and we don't now. And De Vrij is good in the air and can attack those set pieces well, but I refuse to believe that he's so much better that it makes that big a difference that you kind of go from being threatening at set pieces to not threatening at all. And Alberto, I guess it's kind of like a perfect summary of his season, really, where he's not getting any assists at all. And the corners are probably the most clear example of his struggles to make that kind of quality final pass that we're so used to from him. I think Correa should be on them because he's at least set one up.
Leiva's
not, well, he's okay, but I quite like Correa.
I think he had at least 2 assists on corner kicks in the last 2 years.
Yeah, maybe.
Alistair, talking about Inter, we have 2 questions from the Facebook group Serie A fans of North America. So a big hello to all Lazio fans in North America. We have 2 different questions. Jesse saying, I want to see Lazio try to flex some muscle in the midfield rather than commit to sitting deep the whole match against Inter. On the other side, Giacomo instead is saying, does the strategy flip to counter-attack instead? What? Because we can be very dangerous in counter-attack, especially with a slow defense like Inter one. I thought Lazio could use this type of strategy against Roma, but we saw that even dominating in midfield, Lazio find a way to score 3 goals. So I'm asking to you, because I'm a little bit undecided here, what should be the strategy for Lazio against Inter?
I think they'll play the same way that they have done in most of the big games, which is that they'll look to play out from the back, they'll look to draw Inter forward, they want to draw the press, and they want to play through the press as quickly as possible. In terms of the flexing midfield muscle comment, the thing is with that, the way Lazio do that isn't from wandering around keeping possession in midfield. What they're so dangerous at and so good at is those really quick transitions. So you don't see much of Lazio in midfield because they like to go from one end to the other. I expect that's the way Inzaghi will try and set up against Inter, because it's the way he tends to try and set up in big games. And it was really effective against Roma recently, really effective against Atalanta. But my doubt really is about how effective it'll be against an Antonio Conte team. That team is pretty solid. It'll be a bit harder to catch them out that way. They're not going to be as naive as Roma were. They're not going to be as gung-ho as Atalanta are. And it's going to be harder to kind of find a way through them that way. So, yeah. But I still think that's the way he probably will play.
But I think the quality of Lazio midfielder at the moment is better than the Inter one. Barella is probably the only player that concerned me there. Vidal is struggling, and I think the same thing we can say to the other midfielders of Inter at the moment. So this is probably where we can win the match, right? Midfield of Lazio, especially if Luis Alberto improve his form after the surgery and step up a little bit more.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it'll be a really interesting tactical battle, that game, though, because it'll be interesting to see what Conte does about that, whether he's reactive or proactive as well, because, you know, Lazio give opposition teams a hell of a lot to think about, because you can't just focus on Ciro Immobile or Joaquin Correa. You have to focus on Milinkovic-Savic running from deep and becoming an aerial threat, how you're going to deal with his physicality in the box, how you're going to deal with Luis Alberto trying to pull the strings deeper on the pitch, how you're going to deal with Manuel Lazzari. You know, there's a lot of questions that this Lazio team ask of any coach. And yeah, because both teams, I guess, mirror each other in the systems, both playing 3-5-2, it'll probably be down to those who wins those individual battles a bit more. I think you're right. I think there's more quality in the Lazio midfield, but they haven't always shown that. You know, and they need to be. They can't be out-muscled. They can't be outrun. You know, say what you want about Vidal, but he is going to scrap for his life. We need Alberto to step up.
Remember what he did away, right? When we played Inter at home, he made Immobile sent off, right? He acting like Immobile. What was it? Bite him, things like that. Yeah, that I hope Ciro remembers that and punish him. Alistair, we have a question on the goalkeepers. Is there any news about Strakosha? Well, Lazio made a press update announcement on Strakosha's situation. He's injured. He has a problem with the knee. He won't need any surgery. He should be slowly getting back. There are no problems in the team with Strakosha. He's part of the team. No discussion with the manager and so on. So, well, Reina is the starting goalkeeper now, but there's no rumors of Strakosha leaving Lazio this summer. Even though we have been contacted by a Ukraine journalist, because there are rumors in Ukraine that Lazio is looking to buy the star goalkeeper of Shakhtar Donetsk, Anatoly Trubin, who is 19 years old, I think. and had played already in the Champions League this year. So these are the rumors. The exclusive we have is that Lazio is going to sign a freelancer. They say not this Saturday, but next Saturday, Mackenzie is going to be the number 2, right?
Well, I'll pull on the gloves if needed. I'll do anything for the cause. Yeah, I mean, I think because Strakos has had these injury problems, it's just been used as there's been a lot of hearsay, let's put it that way. There's been a lot of speculation about what it means, what it all means. But I think he's just been quite unlucky, really, this season. He had COVID, he's had injuries. When he has been playing, he's not been playing well, but he's never had a regular chance to put any performances together. So I think just the combination of all these things has made people kind of a lot more concerned about him than they otherwise would be. So it was probably good, to be honest, for Lazio to come out with that press release and just say, look, it's fine.
Yeah, finally, we are seeing some changes, right? Because in the past, with Arturo Diaconale, that unfortunately left us, Lazio decided to don't reply, keep it silent. And these were only spreading rumors. Now, finally, when everything happens, there is a press release explaining what's happening. Obviously, we don't know if it's everything true or not, but at least there's an official statement that, stop the rumors. And I think this is important, and a top club like Lazio should be doing this. So this is a step forward, finally, for Lazio communication. Alistair, if you don't have any stats, I think we can wrap it up.
No, you're the stat machine tonight with your 4.5 corners a game.
I impress you, right?
No, I think that's probably it.
Well, I'm going to leave you with this then. Do you know which is the top duo for assists and goal scoring this year in Serie A?
Probably Patrick to Marusic.
Well, Marusic is number 2.
Is he?
Yeah. The first one is Milinkovic Savic to Ciro Immobile. 4 goals. And
you
we
mean
saw something.
You mean for Lazio, or you mean in the whole league?
Serie A.
Oh, right, really? Oh, so it's not Marusic. I thought you meant Marusic was part of the
Marusic is the second one. So it's there are 3 at 4 goals, and one is of your Lazio, then is Milan and Juventus, Morata, Cristiano Ronaldo. And then there is Marusic to Immobile.
Interesting.
3 goals. Yep.
There you go. So I was half right.
Well, Alistair, thank you again for joining me, and thank you all listeners all around the world for supporting our podcast. Remember, if you're listening on iTunes, please rate and review our podcast. This helps us get a little bit of more promotion. And if you want to support the channel, remember, we are on Patreon, patreon.com/Lazio Lounge, or our lovely store where you can find our lovely merchandising, shipping in North America and in Europe and in Asia. So wherever you are, no problem, we can deliver it there. So thank you everybody for listening, and we're going to talk after Inter Lazio, and let's hope that the streak continues. Thank you everybody.